Hey, what's up guys, this is Oakley, and this is going to be a 2 versus 1 siege. I'm defending. I am the Illyrian people, presumably the pirates here on the coastline. This is my pirate stronghold, and Sparta and their ally Carthage have actually come to try and take my booty. So here I am in this settlement, and what I'm doing is before the kind of noose closes in on the city, I'm pulling out some mercenary Tarentine cav. Two of them, a mercenary Tarentine cav, because I got the funds to afford some nice mercenaries. So they're going to be sent actually up through the woods on this nice flanking path. Actually, one of them is. The other one is going to sit here and wait for the attackers to come. They have decided to mass on one flank. Originally, the deployment was supposed to be on this side, but at the last minute, they swapped over to the other side. So that's why I'm pulling over my troops to that flank here. I had fireballs ready. That's the best way to even the odds. So a 2 versus 1, that would have been the best way to deal with that. But sadly, it's not going to be the case. I have a lot of troops. I brought a fair amount of Illyrian hoplites, javelins, slingers, a mix of troops, but the odds are definitely heavily against me in this battle. And against Sparta, it's going to be hard to do a grinding battle against them. They can tank it out, so I'm going to have to do the best I can in this engagement. So what I'm going to try and do is stagger my attack. I want to hold up here, and I'm actually going to be pouring troops forward to contest the outside of the fight. I know that towers are going to be key to my victory, so I want to prevent my opponent from getting up on the walls as soon as possible. My towers are already get some free shots against the enemy, but what I decided to do is pour out. And what I want is maybe to fight an engagement against the walls here with some of my cheap units, Illyrian Thoreo spears, and then I can pull up Peltas and Javelin men up on the walls, and these guys can provide support and cover, supporting fire, excuse me. Anyway, Carthage is moving up with Sacred Band. Ooh, 2 units of Sacred Band pulling up here, up against my little teensy tiny walls. So this is a lot of troops coming in on one small section of the battlefield. My towers themselves not getting much in the way of shots on. Most of the shots are hitting the siege engines themselves, and there's even a battering ram coming up behind this. So this is a lot of units, like I was saying. So this is why I pulled guys out, and you can see my troops on the flank. They're starting to shoot into the flanks of these units. My towers are not doing enough early damage, and I figured this is a prime target. Sacred Band, obviously I want to start hitting these guys. That's exactly what I'm doing. So I'm unleashing on the Sacred Band, doing some nice HP damage on them. The other guys are going to continue to roll up. I'm going to try and get more shots on them. And then more units are actually pouring out of the right flank. I figure, I have to deal a nice... while the enemy is fixed trying to climb over the wall, I'm going to come in here and sucker punch them right in the side, right in the ribs. So I'm going to pull units out and try and hit them on their exposed flank as they're caught deploying up here. So that is my plan. Already it's worked pretty good wonders against that initial Sacred Band unit. It's down to 73 men. Now they're going to be climbing up over the walls. My towers are going to fire. Here are all my javelin units just destroying that force. The rest of this army is slow to respond. Here come some of these Spartan helots, helot slingers creeping up. And they have a lot of archers too. So they're pulling forward. And then you can see in the distance a lot of the units now trying to scale the walls, but this is a mass of skirmishers that can destroy my units out in the open. So this is going to be very important for me to start pulling around with some of my Tarentine cav. That's why I pulled them out early on. And so I'm waiting for the perfect opportunity to land a strike on these exposed units. And what I'm doing with my guys over here is I'm going to be waiting and pulling them out of the line of fire of his skirmishers. They're starting to get some shots off on me, so I'm pulling out of range, and I'm going to wait to deal with him. What that has meant is I've had to pull out from dealing this this blow to my opponent's flank. So what I've decided to do is hold a little bit back in my city, hold strong, wait by my tower, and this is where we're going to just force these guys back at this hold. That first javelin volley did nothing. So my, I believe, Illyrian hoplites, 2 of them right by this tower where I can double the firepower is going to destroy his unit. That's going to be in my advantage. However, my opponent has captured this tower, so that's not good for me. Over the front, I have contested this area. They have neutralized the towers, but like you always see me doing with my sieges, pin the Sacred Band or whatever unit it is from the front, this time with my Illyrians, and then on the flank, get some javelin men to throw some some not pillar but javelins right into the unprotected flanks. Then I'm committing a unit around the side. That is exactly how you want to take out these troops. Force a lot of casualties on them, and then I'm going to hold fire with my peltas. I did enough damage, and I can get rear shots. Back here, I'm pulling back the remainder of my units away from the tower. I don't want to lose too many men there. And over on this front, I've been able to pull forward with some Illyrian raiders. These are the units that I had pulled out from within the city gates to try and push in on the opponents, the Rhodian slingers and all that. This skirmisher blob is going to start to unleash on my guys. It's going to start to take a toll of my men. Now my guys unfortunately are going to have to pull back as I see the enemy responding. So that was not the best move. My guys are starting to take a lot of damage here. I lost huge numbers of my raiders. They are my cheapest units, so it's not that big of a deal. It's causing my opponent to stir and pull a lot of units in this direction. Now this could be good for me, as I do have a potential way to attack this blob in the back. Over in the front, Sacred Bands are finally going to break. And in this position, I pulled back all but one of my units. I figured I didn't need 2 units within range of the towers. And this is going to be enough to hold my opponent back. A couple of these guys have been told to charge right on through. Fortunately, they didn't pull forward enough. And an important thing to do is to turn some of your javelins around, just so they don't get off certain shots. You could turn off fire at will, but sometimes I just flip my javelin dudes around just to make sure they're not firing. I want to save every last javelin for the optimum fire. So here comes this huge mess of troops all flowing forward. This is going to be an important part of my strategy to have units held in reserve here, so I can pincer on this. And now, in the face of, look at all these mobs of men coming at me, my Illyrian hoplites have poked the hornet's nest, and now all the hornets are coming out. So just like I was saying, I want to fight this battle on my terms, and so I'm pulling back into a nicely defended area. This is going to be in a corner, get my back to the wall. I have towers, and then especially over here, look at this, I brought out my peltas, who can deal lots of damage to my opponent if he tries to get at me. So my opponent has been dissuaded from charging me. Look at that, I held strong in the corner. No one is willing to assault me, so I have a nice unit on the outside. Meanwhile, all these forces are pulling back. They're going to be sending some archers to try and take out my position there, so that's probably a good move. And they're massing their slingers here, putting a lot of fire onto my Illyrian hoplites, so I'm starting to feel the burn over in that corner. Up front, enemy is charging forward with the general's unit, all sorts of units. I think he got a bit too anxious and trying to storm the front. He didn't want to deal with this force here, so he's just blasting away at me with some archers. And over here, I'm going to counter assault my Illyrian noble hoplites, throw more units. I'm going to try and recapture the gates. A lot of these units are pouring up through this position, so this is why I took this brief lull in the fighting to pull out my Illyrian noble hoplites. Just wanted to at least decap that tower, perhaps even capture it, and start to get the fire back on. A lot of these troops massing up. Oh, yeah, so this battle is going pretty well. But I charged forward with one of my units, some Illyrian hoplites, and I meant to charge his skirmishers. These guys apparently are threatening badasses because everyone's running away. The skirmisher blob has pulled back, but that is a huge, massive blob of men. The opponent's going to try and divert units to take care of my force on this flank. But look how juicy of a target this is. This is where I'm going to launch an assault from this flank. I'm pressing out. I'm going to seize his Cretan archers. I'm doing everything to catch his skirmishers unprepared. And meanwhile, this is where I'm going to activate my 2 mercenary Tarentine forces. I figured now is the time to swarm around and knock out this juicy cluster of archers. Look how unprepared these guys are for my assault. So I'm holding them back with Illyrian hoplites on that front. And I'm pressing from the left flank with a ton of dudes. They have a lot of arrows, so this is going to be definitely highly contested. Look at all these guys swarming away from me. It's going to be hard to catch them. They are slippery, but look, I'm forcing this entire... they're like jello, just being squeezed out of my grasp here. And they're pulling back to the huge Heroes of Sparta block. So watch this from the Spartan force as they see the entire Helot army pulling back. They're not sure what they're running away from, and then you see some of the Illyrians coming, so this is going to give them pause. But coming back into the embrace of the Spartans. My guys are going to have to hold back. This is just one Illyrian hoplite unit, noble hoplite, forcing this entire mass back. So this is just a bit of a ruse, a feign. I don't think I'm going to be able to take this out, but I'm holding their attention just long enough for what lurks in the background. You can see some of my cavalry waiting for these archers to be held back. So these guys have swarmed back. Sparta is just going to be looking on, allowing the Hells to do the damage. And then that entire blob of skirmishers is going to turn about and just unload on my Illyrians. So you can watch as they waste more and more ammo, and this is fine for me, but this is going to be a truly sacrificial loss on the part of my dudes here. But we're going to have to keep an eye on my cavalry in the back. I'm pulling them back into the woods because now is not a good time to strike. I need my opponent to be distracted by more men. Over the middle, I've been able to catch a couple of the archers, mercenary Cretan archers. I won back the engagement over there, killing off the last couple Sacred Band units. And the remainder of the troops who leaked into this settlement, I absolutely thrashed them, pulled in my Illyrian noble hoplites and peltas, and just threw everything into the mix from all fronts. The towers have been recaptured, so they're doing a lot of help. So I have cleaned up the first wave, which is really good. Charged out from this position, and I'm going to be holding this down. My opponent is now going to swarm forward, and now is going to be the second phase of his engagement. There are some Carthaginian forces which had pushed out on this flank to try and chase my guys out of this little valley. So he's coming after my mercenary Iberian swordsman. And what I'm going to do is pull out with my Tarentine cavalry. And I'm going to silence this rear guard that my opponent has. So the javelins are going to come in, whittle these guys away, and then I'm going to be able to close in on the archer blob that is, again, just waiting target in the back. I'm pulling out more of my elite units on this flank because I want to be able to threaten the archers from the front. So he has just one mercenary Talon swordsman unit. I'm going to be able to deal with these with 2 units and the supporting fire of my tower. I also have peltas pulled in to recapture this. The Spartans are going to start to charge forward. They're chasing after one of my Illyrian noble hoplites, who I'm pulling back towards my city to the safety of my towers. And this Spartan blob not willing to break up. Really scary to see this massed up in front of my city walls. The lambda right there, so that's scary. But as that happens, here comes the ambush. My guys are hidden, so my opponent does not see me. So this is going to be actually very, very important. And now they've been given the attack orders to charge forward, and we're going to see who they can find. So that wall of Spartan warriors is going to be seriously imposing, but the cavalry has found the perfect opportunity to strike one unit here. The utmost of the rearmost of the guards actually is going to be taken out first. I'm going to be eating those guys alive, and this is just behind the cusp of the hill. So I dealt with this unit, and now we're going to be charging forward into the rear of the ranks. Here are a bunch of these skirmishers. Some of them have realized what's going on, and they're going to be pulling back through the Spartan ranks. So here comes this huge mass of units pulling back, pulling out engagement. I'm going to be able to eat away at any of the units who are not within that Spartan blob of safety. So here comes my Tarentine cav, unloading all the while. Sparta being rather poorly led. Perhaps their general has gone away. But my Tarentine cav is going to be circling, eating little morsels of skirmishers not within this Spartan block, like I've been saying. And now they've found themselves up front, and this is exactly where I'm going to be able to ping pong and charge them with my mercenary peltas. Suicidally, some noble fighters charge in here to stop me from charging forward. Up at the walls, my opponent has some Spartan hoplites moving forward. I'm not going to throw anything against these Spartan hoplites as long as they're just sitting waiting at the walls. What I'm going to do is allow my towers to deal damage. He's slowly decapping me, so I will have to engage soon. These towers are still mine. I have a lot of units here to hold it strong. Let's keep an eye on my Tarentine. So my Tarentine cav have pulled back 95 kills on them, 140. Spartan hoplites have been dispatched, but these guys are slow and lumbering columns of troops. So we can watch as these guys try and chase off the pirate forces here. And I'm easily, they may be marathon runners, but I'm going to easily draw them away, pull them as far away from their skirmishers as possible, and then I'm going to pull back in. And I actually managed to sneak in some mercenary peltas here. This is going to be important for me. Once again, these skirmishers have been ping-ponged around. I'm going to sally out of the city to put pressure on them. Every time I put pressure on them, they get out of position, and my cav can come in and swoop in. Still have this flank exposed, which is good for me. And here comes the sallying forth of my guys. Let's watch this. This has been very important for me to keep the skirmishers ping-ponging around. Not only because every once in a while my opponent makes a slip-up, but it keeps them from firing at me. Skirmishers can do a lot of damage to you in sieges like this. So now, yeah, like preventing them from firing into my lines too much. You know, a couple of volleys here and there, but it's really not anything to support an assault. So that is going to be very important for me. And I've never seen archers and skirmishers as timid as this. Literally sitting amongst the hoplite blocks. Pretty crazy stuff. But once again, they're leaving their cover, and just as they do that, my guys are here to greet them, so they can find no, and they're the Spartans coming back, so they can find no relief to the hounding that I'm giving them. What kills am I at? 114 and 114 and 189 there. So slowly chipping away at those guys. Spartan roadblocks really being unresponsive here, and I have some nice peltas units pulled out from the flank. They're going to be watching the carnage. I got a couple shots off against some of the back of the hoplites, and now I'm going to be pulling out a little bit to the safety. So lots of hit and run tactics. That's what you expect from pirates. I am going to get somewhat caught by Spartan hoplites, but they're tired. My guys are rested. Or no, actually I'm pretty tired too, but I'm going to be able to pull out of there easily enough. Cavalry's still healthy, so I'm pulling out. And this is delaying this Spartan push. They would have loved to push into my city. However, they're not going to be able to. And this just buys me more time up on the walls to hit these Spartans for free in the back. So that is pretty awesome. No complaints on my part there. And you can see I don't have much left in terms of men. All I've got left is a couple Illyrian noble hoplites here. Illyrian noble hoplite here, and then just slave slingers and slave slingers. So 2 slave slinger units. These guys are going to be important. Use your javelins always on the flank. You saw how I pulled back one of my hoplites slightly to avoid a confrontation head on, just to give my slave slingers the perfect ability to hit those Spartans. And look at that, just carved through. And in the distance you can see another another charge into his guys. I know this is movement amongst his troops. So he thinks he's chased me away, but again, we're just going to slip through the gaps here. These skirmishers are going to end up being exhausted. Yeah, they're exhausted from running to and fro. Destroyed this Spartan hoplite force. They're down to 18 men. And this one is crumbling down to 74, 72. How many kills have these slingers gotten? 30. And they are raking it up. This is really easy. And watch those slings start to hit these Spartans, and I think at some point I'm going to stop firing right when his guys, yeah, you can see here most of them are committed up against my line, so I'm not going to want to continue firing for too long. It's going to start to do damage against my own guys, and it's not an effective use of ammo against a unit that I can otherwise just destroy. I think I'm going to repick the target to be some of the units up on the wall. I think my opponent has finally kind of figured out a comfortable position for himself. Except there is a little gap here for me to exploit, so that is where Tarantine Cav are coming. 202 kills, 117, and then my peltas here, just pulling those Spartans, again, further and further out of position. And I found another gap here. Mercenary pelta is going to be forcing these guys out. Every time my opponent is super easy to bait. I kind of feel bad about this, but I'm putting a little pressure on him. Spartans are going to react slowly, and again, these helot slingers should know the routine. Yes, that's right. Pull back, pull out of the safety of your position, and let's see what happens to you. Oh, looks like they've wisened up. They're a little bit scared of what's on the crest of that hill. And he should be right, although I'm going for a bit of a sneakier approach. I'm pulling around this flank. Oh, but importantly, this is the Heroes of Sparta unit that is giving chase. So that means the general is here. I'm going to hold him with my Illyrian hoplites. And then what I'm going to be able to do is bring up some slingers soon. Once I'm done finishing off these Spartan hoplites, what I can do is pull these slingers up on the wall and actually shoot right into the back of his heroes of Sparta. That's going to be important. And my brave motherfucking troops come out of the gate, always chasing after his skirmishers, but I got sandwiched. I'm wondering if I have cavalry ready to exploit that. Not quite. My opponent has redeployed his forces, although I did get one mercenary Tarentine cav to gobble up one of these mercenary Cretan archers. Where's my other? Aha! Mercenary Pelta is going to come in and hound these guys from this front. Where's my last? Did I lose my other Tarentine cav force? Okay, no, I'm just resting him, keeping him out of conflict. 203 kills on that guy, 150 on the other. That is a lot of tasty morsels. Mercenary Cretan archers, actually for some reason they may be out of ammo, charging into this mess. We're perhaps trying to balance it out, but Peltas are actually good in combat. 125 kills to their name, so they are helping to chip away at this. The general here killed one of my units face to face, but I pulled up some slave slingers with their objective being take out the Spartan general. A couple of them you can see there when pinging that guy in the dome, he goes down. I'm going to start dwindling in ammo, but this is a high priority target. Although most Spartan forces are immune from penalty losses if the general goes down, I'm more eager to knock out the clusters of skirmishers he have. If I can knock out those troops, get them away from the fight, then I can pick away the Spartan units, and the overall army losses will hopefully be easier to rectify. Here comes the cavalry for another nice charge right into the side. Just getting a nice shot of the action. Spartan warriors must be super frustrated here. I'm curious. Yeah, I think I've been caught out. And I'm sticking in here just to get as many kills as possible. My unit goes down, but we had 250 kills for a Tarentine cav. That is glorious. The other one in the back with 160. He is going to stay alive. I just need that constant threat in the back to delay the push. Delaying the push allows me to keep towers up front in my name, and then slowly, with what little numbers I have, somehow get superior, overwhelming numbers against my opponent. Slingers have been doing their work. Looks like they're out of ammo. 130 kills for slave slingers, which cost almost nothing. I do have, I believe, another unit of slave slingers. Yep, over there. They're going to be getting some shots off into the flank of those Spartan hoplites. They are just starting to get their firing on. 16 kills, fresh and everything. So they're going to wait. They're going to be crucial. My main front here has been thrashed and destroyed. So I'm going to pull out. I'm going to decide to stage a defense by these towers. Did as much damage as I could against the Spartan hoplite. Heroes of Sparta down to 28 men, and now against 52 Peltas and 25 Illyrian hoplites. Let's see how this goes. These are tanky Spartans. A couple of them bloodied in the face from all the slinger fire I've been able to direct in their way. They're going to be holding out. It looks like no one is coming to the rescue of this Spartan force. It is probably not being well led, and so no one's too eager to save their general. He has allowed the skirmishers to get toyed with. The Spartans have been kind of inept and bumbling around, so no one is really eager to save the Spartan king here. Skirmishers finally get up on the walls. This is going to be their relative safety from my cavalry, but still the pursuit is not being let up. What am I at? I'm guessing I'm at 200 now. 186. Couple more of his skirmishers tried to poke up through the city. I charged them with my Illyrian noble hoplites with 100 kills, but at this point I figured that I have to yield the entrance. And yeah, I'm gonna pull back. Now is gonna be the final stage of the battle. I'm pulling back somewhat to this position. I want to have some slave slingers to hit his guys from the flank. And mostly I'm going to be pulling back because there's overwhelming pressure on me. I do have some slave slingers here left just to kind of dangle in front of the Spartan hoplite units to distract them. And I'm hoping to get some flaming balls off. We'll see. Spartan King is going down. I did reclaim that arrow tower and the arrow tower here is going to be firing against me, so it's who can diminish the enemy's numbers to that critical point that they break and rout, and it looks like it's going to be in my favor. Here was the Sparta are going down finally, but it cost me a lot of units to do just that. There you go, there they go down. So now I can slaughter the remaining troops, and it's just in the nick of time as some Spartan forces were starting to press around the flank. They were looking for their general, but taking their sweet ass time. A couple of them looks like actually cheering as they march up. So not much I can do with these troops. I believe I'm going to try and pull them back through the gate. Over on this front, I tried to pop a couple of the flaming balls. However, it did not do much. And the hoplites seemingly ignoring my slave slingers here. I think they just want to go for the cap. They're testing how many men I have left. And I do have some Illyrian noble hoplites. 2 of them. So my general is going to be charging into his guys. Not the world's greatest charge. And the other force is going to be swinging around to try and get a flank on this Spartan hoplite unit. I have to kill them before they kill any number of my Illyrian hoplites. My units are starting to drop. A couple men here and there. So really need to pull guys into the back. Meanwhile, my mercenary peltas are going to be doing a full withdrawal. Going to try and pull them back to the gate. Now every one of my defending units on the front has been destroyed. I'm going to try and hold the choke points with a healthy Illyrian noble hoplite force, and then also some slave slingers on this front. They are turned around once again to avoid wasting any ammo just in case. Now it does open me up to rear fire from troops. So now I'm going to turn about, and I've given them a target of, I believe, mercenary Rhodian slingers. Not sure if their shots. Oh yeah, actually it looks like. Just want to watch the trajectory. Nope, looks like I've given up on that. Yeah, so I was trying to target some of his Rhodian slingers. At this point, I'm a little worried about his range. He still has a lot of range units and presumably some health, some ammo left on them. So I want to make sure I take those guys out, cause a chain rout. And here's the sum total of my forces, all kind of gangbanging this Spartan hoplite force, taking it out with as few losses as possible. Even the slave slingers getting in on this. They're going to be able to say that they killed a hoplite today, a Spartan hoplite nonetheless. So we're cheering, much to cheer for. In that engagement, I pulled both my guys through the gate, so I've saved them, thank God. Spartans are going to be moving en force to silence these gates. I'm not really going to be able to hold them back there. I don't have enough numbers to deal with 2 full strength units, so I'm just going to have to wait. I think I may be pulling 1 unit force forward just to try and halt the capture of this gatehouse. Keep the fire on. Every single one of these shots, I believe, is getting a kill. And it does armor piercing damage. These towers are super OP, so I'm trying to pull him off that capture point. We'll see if he falls for it. Nope, he's gonna come back to the center. So that tactic was doomed. Over here I've pulled back. He has a lot of slingers and units pushing forward on this front. I didn't want to stand and face him firing at me, so what I've done is I pulled around the corner. It's gonna be the best place to meet the enemy. I'm gonna try and land a knockout blow against his troops there. Ooh, one of the units got killed, stabbed in the face. And these slingers, very important to keep them on the periphery. They're going to be waiting here. Now they're going to pull up. And they got some pretty good shots. Spartans are now facing away from me as they focus on my Illyrians. So those are overwhelming numbers that will take me out. But now I can start chipping away. And this should be pretty good. What kills? 36 kills. Plenty of ammo left on these guys, so should be able to knock them out. I'm pulling in some more healthy Illyrian units to try and knock these guys on the side. Mostly because now his Rhodian slingers are actually going to face off against me and try and do damage. For some reason he's not willing to commit more Spartan hoplites around the flank. So this is going to be good for me. And I'm hoping to actually hit these Rhodian slingers, hit the Spartans in the back, and then leave a gap kind of exposed where I can continue to fire on them. That will be optimum. Over on this front, the enemy has seized the towers and they're pulling forward. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to pop the flaming balls in time, but on flat terrain these guys have proved to be pretty ineffective. Spartan hoplites here are trying to do some pull through. It's a little cheap, but we'll see if it comes back to bite my opponent. So he pulled through. I'm going to pop second wind, battle rhythm, all that, just to keep him at bay. I reinforced with my general's unit to force that guy back, and I have a nice, like I said, sandwich on his troops and a flanking shot with my slave slingers, 57 kills. And now this whole cluster is starting to rout, so I should be able to get nice amounts of damage there. One breaks, the other one is slowly going to start breaking and crumbling too. The balance bar is slowly climbing back in my favor. There are still some Rhodian slingers left, just 17 men left, so I'm going to have to disengage and charge those guys. On this flank, however, there's not much I have left, so I'm going to be tossing just some really cheap slave slingers to delay the Spartans. Like I said, the flaming ball is really not doing too much. A couple of them going off and killing 1 or 2 men here or there. The tower is now working against me. This is not good. I think with my dudes, I'm going to try and I keep giving orders to ignite these flaming balls. But yeah, it's too late, not effective enough, and they're going to push through the killing zone. So I've crushed this front, and instead of dealing with those slingers, I let my tower deal with them. They're going to break anyhow. And so now I'm pulling to the final plaza of the 2 full armies that were facing me. This is all that's left. A couple Spartan hoplites. And what do I have left here? Illyrian hoplite, 2 Illyrian noble hoplites, 3 actually. So all my elite troops are left. All the regular hoplites have died off. I pull my slingers onto the side. What are my kills before we go into this? 208, 117, 195, and 62. This is going to be hard. I don't have enough troops to really get around the flank, and I have to commit just enough to fix his guys. So my noble troops are going to be charging through the center, pinning some units. Again, slave slingers, cheap, but going to be super effective. And look at this. If only I had a Peltas unit left with some nice armor-piercing, damage-dealing capability, I could thrash these guys. Even a couple, maybe Tarentine Cav left, but this is going to be enough for me right now. So look at this unit on that flank. Lots of Spartans shuffling to replenish their ranks, but they are many, many, many ranks deep. His Spartan force, super deep. I'm fighting around a tree, so at least the frontage is somewhat going to be slowing down the pace, the tide of combat, in a way that I might be able to chip away enough with my slave slingers. 95, almost 100 kills with them, although my general here is outnumbered, fighting against 3 separate units, 2 Spartan hoplites, 3 Spartan hoplites. Looks like the elite Spartans are mostly gone, so yeah, it's all Spartan hoplites. My Illyrian noble hoplites are at 34, 217 kills to their name, but now they've finally been surrounded. And the capture point has been neutralized. We're not going to allow it to go in the enemy favor just yet. So I'm holding strong, but it is not a fight I'm winning. Although I am kind of winning out on this engagement, although they did send in some of their Cretan archers. So now it's going to be skirmisher against skirmisher. He is doing everything he can to silence my slingers. And these guys are actually not good at all in combat. I mean, look at the little daggers they have. The enemy units do have kind of the same weaponry, but there's 22 of them, 25 of them. You know, even numbers in a knife fight will usually kind of kill each other off. And that is the last thing I wanted. I really needed these slingers to keep chewing away at this force. I mean, look how much damage they're doing. But now that the fire has stopped, it's going to cause my units to break. So the force by the tree breaks. My general has been brought low. And the last Illyrian noble hoplite force is going to be holding strong here. But we're going to get absolutely surrounded. So this could be the dying breath of the pirates. Yep. No, actually they haven't broken. They've just turned about, re-engaged on this front. My slave slingers actually pulled through, killed the enemy. They're going to get their last couple of volleys here, knocking some of those guys out before they get charged by the Spartan hoplite force. So there goes the wavering Illyrian hoplite force with 218, slingers with 113. Not sure how I could have done better in this battle. Ended up being super, super epic, multiple waves, lots of hit and runs. But at the end of the day, overwhelming strength was required to take out the pirates. So I think that was awesome. Let's go ahead and take a look at the stats here at the end. Holy crap. And I do have to note, one of the players, the Carthaginian player, was a computer, so that didn't necessarily, you know, he didn't play super well. You saw me picking away at the Sacred Band early on, so it was kind of easy, but it was just meant to balance the odds and give me a little bit of favor, or sorry, give my opponent a little bit of favor. I like a challenge. So 2,000 men deployed, I killed 2,300, almost double that of my opponents. My guys here Oh, wow. 200 levels kills, 300 or 250 on one of these, 190, 135, 113. No one really disappointing me here. Mercenary Peltas at 32 kills. That's the only one that's slightly under. This Illyrian Raider unit is dirt cheap, so I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, that was, I mean, Slave Slingers outperforming Spartan Hoplites. That is super impressive. Some of these Illyrian Hoplites took some pretty significant beating. They don't have much armor, and so they went down, but held the walls pretty well. Let's see, the AI here just getting thrashed. The only unit holding up are going to be the noble fighters. Those guys are hard to do poorly with, especially in a siege. Get them up in close combat, and they're going to tear units apart. And then my opponent, the human opponent, is going to be Sparta. Not doing so well. His Cretan archers actually getting a fair amount of kills in the end, so I'm glad I was able to charge in and suppress those guys for the most part. But yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you in the next one. Peace out.